I've been teaching messaging and communication and marketing for probably the last 5 to 7 years. It's been so long, I lost track. But with that being said, one of the things I see people struggle with over and over and over again is they don't realize that messaging and marketing doesn't come down to frameworks. A lot of people think, oh, I just followed the framework, Brandon. Why isn't it working? It's like, well, because you filled the framework up with communication, language, values, beliefs, identities, problems that don't really land with your audience. And so although you may have followed the framework, the communication within the framework is still off. And so what we realized is that, yes, the frameworks are important. Yes, I can give you all the frameworks in the world, but there is an underlying magical piece that needs to happen, which is integrating that framework to the specifics of your business and your audience. And that's sometimes a hard thing to do. So we wanted to rerun another episode from earlier this year that walks you through and explains how to properly integrate messaging into your specific business and situation. So if that's interesting to you, well, keep on listening.
Hi, I'm Brandon Lucero, and you're about to experience the new way to thrive in business, entrepreneurship, and life by leaning into who you are, what you love, and standing up for what you want to create. Get ready, because this is where we go against the grain, say no to outdated society norms, and we say yes to change in order to create a happier, more fulfilled world. Welcome to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. As you likely know, hopefully know, the cart has just opened to our brand new program. It's the evolution to the Video Forex Effect, and it is called the New Generation Mastery Program. And what I wanted to do is bring on a few of the students today to walk you through their experience and what they have experienced inside the program, what they've experienced inside their brand, what they've experienced with their messaging. This is real, this is honest, this is just their experience inside the program to help you decide whether or not this is a program that you need and if it's the right program for you to fix your messaging and content. So everyone, welcome to the call. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the room and allow you to introduce yourself. So let's start with Carlos. If you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and just letting everyone know who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'm Carlos. Station, I guess, in Portland, Oregon, Northwest, U.S. I'm an online fitness coach, and my background is actually physiotherapist. And years after, probably 12 years after practicing physiotherapy, I took my skills and I took it to the world, and now I help people that are overcoming injury or dealing with chronic injuries, and I take them to the level where they actually go and create memories, doing an active lifestyle with their friends and family. So a lot of fun doing it online.
Awesome. Thanks, Carlos. Glad you're here. And Joanna, let's have you go next.
Hi, I'm Joanna Platt. I am a life coach who helps high achievers who are constantly on the edge of burnout. I help them find inner balance so that they can finally experience that feeling of enoughness they're really looking for.
I love it. Thank you for being here. And Amy, good. Yeah, of course. Amy, good to see you again. I'll have you go next.
Good to see you, Brandon. My name is Amy Wall. I'm from Northern California, and I help women about to turn a milestone age rapidly rejuvenate their skin and their energy without the use of plastic surgery, injections, or inflammatory treatments.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you for being here. Let's have Catherine go next.
Hi, I'm Catherine Beck. I'm originally from Chicago, but I've been living in Sydney, Australia for the past 17 years. I'm a voice coach, and I help the unnoticed entrepreneurs out there really discover their true, authentic voice and amplify their message so that they can create lasting impact and build a personal connection to their audience and be seen and heard as a thought leader or expert in their field.
I love it. And you're really good at what you do. I remember watching you, I think at BBD or something like that, live.
BBD
Very
live.
Good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, glad you're here. Thanks for being here. And last but not least, Denise.
Hey everybody, I'm Denise Mazzola. I am living in New Hampshire at the moment, and I help pet dog owners who are feeling embarrassed and frustrated with their dog's aggressive behavior find the joy again so that they can live a more peaceful, happy life together.
Awesome. I love it. And for all of you listeners out there, if you feel like any of them might be someone who can help you with the problem you're having in your life, we're not allowed, but we're going to have them showcase their brand and their website and all that stuff at the end so you guys can see how you can follow them and learn from them. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to first start off and kind of go around the room and ask you guys, why did you join the program? Like, what were you struggling with when it came to messaging? And I think this would be really valuable to a lot of the listeners because I think once people realize that they're not the only ones having problems with messaging, it'll help them realize that, yes, they do have something that can be solved. And so I'm just curious, and maybe we'll start with Denise, and we'll just go back around the room. Why did you join the program? Like, what were you struggling with when it came to communication, content, and messaging?
What wasn't I struggling with would be the question. Everything. When I had really not heard of you before. I think I heard you on James Wedmore's podcast or something, and I was half interested. And then you started talking about the unheard entrepreneur, and you started talking about putting out free content all the time. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing all that. And then you're like, yeah, that's not going to help you at all. So whatever you said, you spoke directly to me. And I've never invested as much as I ever have this year and with you. And it's paid off a lot. I mean, I am not the same person I was when I started. So it's just been huge.
Yeah. And what you experienced was what I call the power of specificity, or being specific. That word is always very tricky for me to say, but being specific. And when you can speak so specifically to someone, then get them to automatically go, that's me, you start to craft really powerful messaging. And I've seen your stuff, and I now know that you can do that with a lot of your audience too, which has been amazing to see. It's been an awesome transformation.
Thank you.
So let's throw it over to Catherine.
I'm in the same position as Denise. I knew nothing about messaging, but I knew that was what was holding me back in my business. I considered myself, I sort of fell into online entrepreneurship. I come from an acting background, voiceover background. So I thought of myself as like the creative type and didn't really think that I was business savvy. So I knew I had a great product. I knew my online course was incredible, but I didn't know how to communicate that to my audience. I also discovered you through James Wedmore and knew instantly that if messaging was the thing that was holding me back, I needed to take your course. And I cannot tell you how thankful I am because it was so eye-opening. You showed me exactly what I needed to know, what I didn't know, and in a way that was very easy to implement and create a massive shift in the trajectory of my business. So yeah, it was a huge eye-opening experience going through your program and learning from you. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you had that experience. You know, that's one of the things that I just to toot my own horn a little bit, I think we're pretty good at is taking something that can be pretty complex when it comes to messaging and subconscious communication and like all of this stuff and boiling it down to a very simple process. But what I love about the program, which it kind of sounds like is what you're saying, is that we just bring you through a process, and by the end of the process, and sometimes you might not even know what you're doing and why you're doing something, but then at the very end, it all comes together and leaves you with a nice little like messaging package. So I'm glad you had that experience. With that, let's throw it over to Amy.
Awesome. Well, I was a avid listener, still am, of your podcast. I don't know where I found you, maybe from Jim Fortin, but I got so much value out of one podcast episode that I sat down with a notebook on and then started using it in my Instagram posts. And that was what first happened. I was like, oh, there's something here. It was the first time I felt like I could take all of the massive ideas and really mastery of my craft that I have, and that I could actually get it to land with somebody. So that happened. Then I signed up for thought reversal course, and then I went to your event in November. And then just based on meeting you and meeting really the community, because that's what I was craving also, I felt very lonely in what I was doing. Then I upgraded to the New Generation Mastery Program, what is becoming that right at the tail end. And I'm just so like grateful to be a part of it and can't wait for this year.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad, again, like with everyone else, that you had that experience. And yeah, the new program, I'm super excited for that. And so if there might be, for any listeners out there who have known the Video 4X program, the new program, New Generation Mastery, which is open now, is just version 2.0. We changed the name of it, but that is the new edition of the Video 4X program. So with that said, I'm gonna throw it over to Joanna. So if you wanna just talk a little bit about what you were struggling with and what problems you had that led to the decision to join.
Great question. It's interesting to think back, like where was I and what was I struggling with? Because so many of those things I am not struggling with anymore. And they were things that I was struggling with for like almost 10 years, which is embarrassing to say, but it just couldn't figure it out. I actually had a background in marketing, so marketing wasn't hard for me. But I first learned about you, I remember it was about this time last year, and I was listening to the podcast episode you were on with James and driving to Chipotle, and I couldn't stop thinking about what you were talking about with industry norms. And I just started thinking, so I'm a life coach, which life coaching is like, what the heck am I even selling here? Like for 8 years, I literally have been like, what am I selling? Like it feels like I'm selling you having a cup of coffee with me, which I just don't know how to tell you why that's valuable or why you should sign up for this. And like have really deeply been struggling with figuring that out for 8 years until I joined Video 4X. But so I was really struggling. I had started and closed a membership like a couple weeks before this like Chipotle industry norms situation, and I came back and I have like had a huge posted up until a couple weeks ago with like industry norms and just like started like putting post-it notes up. Prior to that, I had a podcast that I felt like I was like on a hamster wheel, just like trying to keep up with the content, having to share like super personal things about my life, but not really knowing like how or why they helped anyone or why I was sharing them. I felt like I had to like prostitute myself on the internet, like on Instagram, and like be posting all the time. It was just like, I was like, I have a gift to offer the world, and I'm trying, and I just can't keep up. Like I was just on this hamster wheel, like I just couldn't keep up. And then I went through the launch and decided that I would put it in my budget so that the next time the doors opened, I would join. And I joined in August. And
awesome.
I'm so happy to be here to share everything that I have experienced since then. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, and you touched on something that's really important, is that the focus is on messaging. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, that's actually the last thing they focus on because they don't know either the importance of it or they just don't even know it's a thing. And we get so caught up in strategy and where's the posting this, and you get so caught up in what you were calling the hamster wheel of constantly posting, constantly being live, constantly doing this, constantly dancing and pointing and whatever. But all those things are nothing more than vehicles. And it doesn't matter how many times you put out a vehicle, if you're not saying or communicating the right way or positioning yourself the right way, it just doesn't matter. And so I'm glad you were able to join and start working on those because it can shift everything.
Well, and now I know what I'm selling, which is like the biggest thing of all. So I'm excited to talk more about that too. It's just like,
well, yeah, and that comes down.
Changed.
That comes down to like positioning too. You know, it's kind of like instead of sitting here and saying I'm selling these modules and these videos and this and here's what you get, it's more of that demand creation. Here's a real problem you're having, and here's the actual transformation we're giving, and here's a way to describe it so it lands with people. I think to me that's one of the most powerful things from from the program. All right, with that said, Carlos, what were some of the things that you were struggling with?
So my background, is physiotherapy, and in actually I ran training studio. I ran a couple therapeutic training studios, so I was successful back in the Dan Kennedy years, of like direct marketing and all that stuff. So I was good on brick and mortar. So I'm used to like the message of problem solution whatever, and so when I took my business online, it kind of changes everything because online and offline is it's two different dogs completely. So I learned. I was trying to fit the Dan Kennedy method into the online world, and so long story short, I'd actually met Mel first, and then I was scrolling and one of your videos popped up and you said something about not so much the unheard entrepreneur, but like you're putting content and tutorials and whatnot, which is what I was doing. I was really doing good with Pinterest. I was doing really good with YouTube and opt-ins and all the good old Dan Kennedy. And then Mel, in one of his calls, mentioned your name. I'm like, wait a minute, you two know each other. So whatever I learned from Mel needs to come from this cat. So that's when I started following you, and I went through the whole series. And then for me, coming from offline, online in the fitness arena, it's huge because that's like a huge ocean. So messaging, since being online now for 7 years, I've been going narrow and deep every time I pivot. Every time I have a breakthrough, I go narrow and deep versus, anybody that wants to get in shape, anybody that wants to, rehab. I just been going narrow and deep because my message and not from what the market keywords dictate.
Right.
So that's been for me huge. I'm not relying on the keywords or the Google trends or anything like that.
Right.
So much.
Yeah, and I think that's important. I think that's the way content and messaging have been taught for so long, is just show up to serve. And the way service has been described is take survey results and do whatever people tell you to do. Just do tutorials and give information. But that's really the external world controlling your message. And we do want to listen. We do want the data. But at the end of the day, we need to start with who we are and our message first and let that be the driving force. And so I'm glad you were able to have that realization and start to put the pieces together. The next question I want to move into, and I'm just going to throw this open for anyone who wants to answer it. But the question is why us? Like, I know I'm not the only person teaching messaging. I'm not the only messaging expert. I'm not the only content expert. In fact, a lot of the people you mentioned, James, Jim, Mel, they talk about messaging too. But why us and why this program? And anyone can just unmute themselves and take it away.
I'm still unmuted, so I'm gonna go.
Okay.
Like I mentioned, Mel, and I distinctly remember when Mel was showing his framework, that my message, my audience started connecting and more engaging. But then it almost got to almost like a plateau. And my coach at the time said, you just got to be more problem-based, solution and whatnot. So it almost kind of distracted me a little bit to go from message to method. And when I noticed the difference of like I was focusing more on how I teach instead of my message, I was like, no, I got to go back to Mel. And that's when I ran into you. So for me, it's been that big difference of, and you kind of made, in one of our calls, you kind of asked me a question that I was like, ooh, that was like hard. Because was like, what impact do I want my message to make in the world? So it was not about what ACL you want to treat, what kind of athlete you want to work on, what kind of, tennis elbow you want to work with. It wasn't nothing about diagnosis or sports or outdoors. You were like, what impact do you want your message to have in the world?
Right.
And that's what I've been asking my coaches, like trying to ring them. I'm like, I'm not a specialist of one thing. I just want to like serve people with this message.
Yeah.
And to me, that was the pivot that you kind of like made me go like, I don't love you, but I like you.
I get that a lot. All right, good. I love you and hate you at the same time because we ask those tough questions
Yeah,
and we don't let people
exactly.
off the hook.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about it.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Anyone else want to go?
Yeah, I'll go. Well, I definitely wasn't not in the market for signing up with anybody else at all. So I was pretty sure I was not going to be signing up for anything. And so why you was that I knew, and similar to Carlos, is that I knew that I have this incredible message that's actually, a mission of mine and divinely ordained one. And you had enough energetic language, I think, that I understood that you were going to give me a process that I was going to be able to finally be able to talk to my people. It was like I felt such a sigh of relief every time I listened to you, like, oh my God, this 15 years of what I've been doing, like, am I going crazy that nobody, like, I cannot get across. I did not know how to create demand. And so when I started realizing, oh, he helps cut through the noise, and I'm in the skincare industry, and I have been a dissenter. I've been award-winning, top in the country awards, and worked for very famous formulators behind the scenes. Really had a mastery of all of this. But, again, in the beauty industry, everything is so freaking noisy. And like, I just needed a way to kind of strike through. But, it wasn't until I met you and just listening to your free content that I realized that I was soapboxing and that I really needed a way to just cut through the noise and be clear with a company that understood, the type of business that I had. So that's my answer.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest things is this industry, no matter what niche you're in, is going to be more competitive. Like there's more course creators coming in, there's more people starting online businesses, especially the pandemic. It's sped it all up, and having that ability to communicate in a way that no one else is communicating and create demand is going to be really important. All right, Denise, let's have you go next, and then we'll have Catherine after that.
I have a successful offline business, sort of similar to Carlos, and it was a real struggle to move online. I didn't think it was going to be a struggle, and before you, I have joined 2 other, messaging courses and did all the work and did all the things and learned from them, but there wasn't a lot of impact happening. I wasn't getting conversions. I wasn't reaching the right people. And it was really frustrating to, like I said, I had a course, I had a lead magnet, like I had a lot of things, and it seemed like the thing that I was missing was messaging. I think somebody else said it. I wasn't looking for messaging. I wasn't looking for you. I wasn't really looking for anything. I was sort of tired of courses. And these other ones just didn't work. I put in all the effort. What's going to be different about this? And when I went through your launch, it was your video series, and I watched every video. I took notes. I went back, tried to glean as much as I possibly could, and it just, everything you said just seemed different and authentic, and like I just can't say it enough. Like you were just talking to me. And so, I took the leap and I haven't looked back since.
I love it. Yeah. And what's great about the video series that you watched was that video series was compiled of what we teach. It's uncovering authentically who you are, putting it into a message and marketing and your impact, but then communicating it to the way that's going to land with people. And it's just, to me, it's just the deepest level of communication you can have. So I'm glad you had that experience. Catherine.
So I actually never watched the video series. I only got a few snippets of what you were talking about in the launch, and that was enough for me. For me, it was all about challenging industry norms. And when I heard that, I was like, sign me up, because I've always been an out-of-the-box thinker. I am very much thinking about how can I communicate this in a way that nobody else is, but I didn't know how to do that. So I knew that you would be able to teach me that because of what you were saying was really resonating with me. And so that took me from, recently I've pivoted, but where I was when I first joined your program, which is almost a year ago, I was working solely with non-US actors wanting to perfect their American accent to book roles. Well, in my industry, people talk about a general or standard American accent, and that never really sat well with me. Even I said that I was teaching a general American accent. But in going through your program, I created a new accent, which is exactly what I teach, which is the all-American accent. And so I challenge people in thinking that a standard or a general American accent is not going to book you the U.S. role. Because when you think about how Americans speak, look, there's not one way to sound American. And what everyone is teaching is a cookie cutter way of this is how you have to sound. And so I challenged that idea, and that, just that, brought me into a whole nother atmosphere where now people are looking at me as the expert in that industry, which completely comes down to working through your program.
I love that. And that's, I tell people all the time, it just takes one theme, one angle, one challenge of a norm. And like our business is basically built off of challenging this idea of how to content, how to build an audience online. And it's taken us to where we are. And more importantly, it's not just about, challenging those things. It's about bringing better change. It's about ending suffering by talking about these things that are outdated now and people haven't realized it. And to me, there's nothing better than like making an impact, building a successful business, and ending suffering at the same time. And it sounds like that's what you were able to experience, which is just beautiful. All right, let's move on to the next question. And Joanna, I'll have you tackle this one first if you want to. If not, you can just like wave no. But the next question is, what ways have you grown? Where have you seen the most amount of growth when it comes to this program and working with us?
I've grown a lot. I've grown a lot in my personal life. The way that I even like think and speak and talk to myself, I find myself like able to thought reversal myself and like just get myself out of like my own like pickles that have nothing to do with business, but more with like personal life or, just like these like crazy standards that I put on myself or fears that I have. Like listening to the first module, I was like, hold on a second. Like I thought I signed up for a business course, but my life is now changed. Like I will never be the same again. After, like, I can't unknow what I know now. And that was, like, amazing.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, because I am ending my own suffering and perhaps nipping it in the bud before it even starts a lot, which is super powerful.
Yeah.
But also, like I said, I spent years and years and years and years not knowing what I was selling. And like, how do you have a successful business if you don't know what you're selling? And I was really suffering because of that. But now it's amazing actually, like through like everything that I learned in the free content, I feel like it like just like launched me into this like year of really going deep within and like discovering like the change that I am here to make in the world, which was always there, but I had never had the opportunity to like sit in the silence and like go deep enough. And so now I have my unique methodology, which just was like, oh, okay, I'm not selling time with me. I'm selling this like transformation, and the transformation comes through my unique methodology. Like I can sell anything. Like I had a retail job where I was like selling candles, and it was like so easy to, just be like, oh, and this, and if you're looking for this, then this is perfect. I just could not do that with myself and coaching because I couldn't connect those dots, but I can now. And not only do I have my unique methodology, but working backward, like I identified first my unique methodology, and literally like 9 days ago, just through sitting in the silence for like 2 weeks around the holidays, just this download came in of 4 types of burnout. And that's the problem that I'm solving. And now I have the answer for it. Like it was like, I I didn't know what hunger was, and I also didn't know what pizza was, but I knew that people had a problem, but I didn't have either of the things to like help them with this problem. I just knew they had like a deep pain that needed to be helped, you know, or like,
Right.
and that I could do it. And now I have both of those things. I just feel like I have a new job. Like it just is like, and I know what I'm doing and I know where to go next. And it just is like this missing piece that
Right.
I was really, really, really struggling. Honestly, that went beyond before even coaching, but like started when I was like 22 in my quarter life crisis. Like this solved it. So like
Yeah.
I am changed. Thank you.
Well, of course, and I love the 4 phases of burnout, and what you're doing is you're bringing structure to something that may feel airy-fairy or like an idea or something. I always talk about masculine, feminine energy, but there's like something there, and then you give that more structure to it. Like the 4 phases of burnout are something that you created. It was a download that you got, which, by the way, is a part of our, for the listeners, a part of our process. And tapping into that type of things, the downloads and whatever. But those 4 phases of burnout, they give what I call explanations to the unexplainable. It's things that people are going through that they don't really know what's going on, but then you label it and they go, that's it. And when you can do that for someone, when you can create content that does that for someone, it's extremely powerful. So I'm glad you were able to have that experience and you got that download. I'm excited to see how that turns out. All right, anyone else want to answer or have any input on how they've grown from working inside this program or with us?
I do. I want to say something. So I listened to the podcast. I went to the event. I started the thought reversal course, and I was very, very sure that that a project that I was working on for 3 years, like I had a name. I watched the first part of your. Then when I upgraded to Video 4X, I watched the first part, the methodology. I created a methodology for that thing that I already came to the course with. But then through meeting up with some of the people that I met in your group, we started a study group and reworking the modules again. I came and staying in the silence, being in the silence because I had this niggling feeling that something was just not quite right. I also birthed a whole brand new methodology, which for me just actually feels like the culmination of my life's work so far, and it's higher self beauty. That will be really the category, the method, the everything, the domain name. I mean, it was just sitting there waiting for me. And to me, that breakthrough has been so profound that like that's not even messaging. That's like I created something that is a whole brand new category. And so I just wanted to share that breakthrough. So for anybody listening that has that kind of passion and mission inside, but is just not going anywhere, that was my big breakthrough so far. And I've only been in the program for a couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. It's like, I mean, when I was listening to you, I'm like, that's what I'm here to do. That's what brings me joy.
Thank you.
Seeing that kind of transformation is just beautiful and amazing. And I think what the program is very good at doing is helping people see things they haven't seen before and getting you to get to a place where you can see how the path you were on or the direction you're going was influenced by external things, the world, haters, parents, this, that, teachers, and to kind of push that to the side and realign with, here's what I really want to do. Because I always believe that powerful people create powerful messages. But if you're living a life that's not in your purpose, not in your dharma, not in your alignment, or not what you're doing because you haven't seen it yet, you're not going to be as powerful as you could be. But once you can move in that direction, it's just like everything unlocks and you just
And
go
I think
to
it's
another
important,
level.
pardon me, I just really want to make sure that I think it's important that people be willing to, get these outside eyes and outside perspectives and be willing to change. I had sales pages, logos, trademarks, all sorts of stuff going for something that ultimately completely died during this process. It was a shedding of epic proportions. And, I'm just grateful to myself for having just knowing and you and the program and the community that, this is it, that when it landed so deeply that I was willing just to go, no, this is it. And I'm so glad I did not launch that thing because it would not have flown. Now I know that.
Right. That's beautiful. I love that. I'm going to move on to the next question. Whoever wants to answer it, feel free. Thank you, Amy, for sharing all that. What is your niche, and how has learning what we teach about messaging really changed or helped you create an impact within that niche? How has your impact that you're making changed, altered, or grown since the program? Go ahead, Carlos.
I will say I'll get to answer the question, which is actually the same answer. But one of the things I think as a guy, because you mentioned masculine and feminine energy, as a guy, especially in the fitness industry, one thing that I have personally grown after, I don't know, probably 5 replies you posted on the group is that stillness or sitting silence. As a guy, we just want to fix stuff and give me a duct tape and a hammer and I'll fix it. And every time I post it on the Facebook group, hey, Brandon or Jenna, what do you think about this? Like, go sit in silence, go sit in silence. I'm like, damn it. So I grew, into now it's a routine every day. I go to the trail and I just sit in nature and it's a routine. It's like my workout. Every day I go hit the trail and just sit in silence. And so that practice, I call it now the practice, I have infused it into my niche, especially with my type A guys that are like lawyers and contractors, and they're like, I don't care, dude, just give me what I need to do to get back on the slopes.
Right.
I've been able to instill that in them, kind of like, okay, if you want to pass on that to your kids, you need to lead by example.
Yeah.
So in a way blends again with my end of suffering message for the dad or the mom, to find a place I always tell them at least 4 minutes of just sitting still, just nothing. Not meditating, not humming. But as far as my growth and how I've applied in my niche, it's being that typically you see trainers on Instagram or Facebook doing workout routines and booty workouts and all that. And I'm like the whole opposite. I'm like, before you do that, you need to do this.
Yeah.
And I get it, especially through the holiday New Year resolution, a lot of messages coming through of like, oh my God, I had a revelation, I had a breakthrough. I'm like, oh, you didn't have to do like a HIIT workout.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So it's been very practical and very, like it's an ongoing process. Like you always said, message will change, your ambience, your habitat, ecosystem, that's the word that you use. Will continue to grow. So that's why I make it part of my daily practice. I go hit the trail and I just see what comes.
I love that. You're blending like the feminine and the masculine energies, those invisible things, getting clear on who you are. It's not the action items, frameworks, strategies to do items, and you need a blend of both, which is what we bring you guys through the program. And it like warms my heart to hear you being able to bring that to your people as well. So thank you.
Yeah, and as a guy, it's hard,
is.
but it's a realization for us dudes.
Yeah, I love that.
So
awesome. Is there anyone else that wants to share how they're making a different impact in their niche because of the program? Catherine.
In pivoting now, doing voice coaching for entrepreneurs, I found myself in doing that now I'm speaking to an audience which they're not actively looking for a voice coach. They're not saying, gee, a voice coach could really help me increase my sales. So I had to figure out a way to communicate how powerful it is what I do, and that could help get them to the next level. And it was the same thing for me. I really hit a wall. I thought, similar to what Joanna said, where it's like, I know what I teach, but I don't know how to communicate it. I don't know how to express it.
Right.
And that's funny because I'm a voice coach. I know how to create that feeling and that personal connection with my audience, but I didn't have the words for it. And it really took me going for walks, silencing the brain, and just letting the answers come to me. The what was holding me back. And when I did that, then I was able to solidify who I am now, what I'm teaching, why that's so powerful, and how that can create an impact on this new audience that I'm working with. So it's been a journey.
Yeah, and hopefully the listeners are starting to understand there's more than just frameworks and strategy and like patterns to follow. We have all that stuff and it's important, but again, it's like what you fill those strategies up with and those patterns up with is important. And we take you to those depths and give you the tools to kind of uncover what those are, or I guess a better way to explain it is let those answers come to you, like what Catherine just said. It's incredibly powerful. I know that some of you guys are on time restraints, so I'm going to move to the last question. We're just going to go around the room, and then I'll give you guys an opportunity to just tell everyone, where they can learn more about you. So Carlos, why don't we start with you? And just the last question has just been, what's been the biggest win with content or messaging from this program? And then also just let people know where they can learn a little bit more about you.
I think the biggest win has been revelation and getting back the clarity without losing who I am. And so I'm not the ugly duckling. There's nothing wrong with my business model. And I think that was a very amazing revelation that gave me tons of clarity. And, it's like a nice horizon of possibility as long as I keep my eyes clear.
Right. Yeah. And where can people learn more about you?
My Instagram is FitLab Method, FITLAB Method. And then my Facebook page is TTM Portland. That's one of my training studios. So I'm in those both platforms. You can also find me on Pinterest, a lot of goody stuff on Pinterest with ideas and practical things for them to do.
Awesome. Thanks, Carlos. Appreciate it. Joanna, what's been your biggest content or messaging win since going through the program, and where can people learn more about you?
For me, it's definitely been getting off the content hamster wheel and getting off of the I have to do more, I have to do more, I have to do more, I have to do more. And that started actually even before I joined the program. And then since joining the program, being able to identify the 4 types of burnout, like you said, will be able to help me make such a difference in the industry because, people think that that actually to get out of burnout, they have to do more or completely stop. And actually, they really don't necessarily need to make any external changes to their life. It's a lot of internal, just right. Simple shifts. And so having that clarity, I feel like I have a purpose. I feel like I have a path forward and I have clarity, and it just is priceless, truly.
Yeah. I love that.
So, and people can find me. My website is joanna-platt, platt.com. I have a podcast, The Joy of Enough, and I'm on Instagram at Joanna_Platt.
Awesome. Thanks, Joanna. I appreciate it. Let's go to Denise.
Yeah. So, my goal is to end the suffering for not only dogs, but also for the pet owners that are struggling with particularly aggression, because everybody blames them. And prior to your course, I think, I'm slightly older than everybody here, so I'm not in my first quarter. What did Joanna say? My first quarter breakdown or whatever. I'm in my last almost, but not quite. And personally, I can express myself. I can be polarizing. I'm not a wallflower. And yet, when it came to online and the messaging, I really had a very hard time finding my voice. And I really had a hard time saying what I wanted to say because I think I didn't know how to say it. I just didn't know how to say it in a way that could be heard, that would resonate, that would make pet dog owners really, go, oh, she's she's talking to me, or she's different, or she's not blaming me, because there's so much blame in this niche of the industry. It's just incredible. And so, I echo what a lot of other people have said in terms of silence and making time to either do yoga or go for a walk and get out of the the daily grind. You always feel like you have to do more. It's just all been so helpful. There isn't anything in the course that hasn't been helpful, and it's just been awesome. So I think for me, I found my voice, and I'm really starting to make that impact in ending suffering for pet dog owners and their dogs that I wanted to do for a long time.
I love that. And if people wanted to learn more about that and how you can help them, where can they go?
Yep. So you can find our website is everythingdognh as in New Hampshire.com, and our Facebook page, I know that's my generation, sorry, and Instagram is all everythingdognh as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Denise. Appreciate it. And then Catherine.
Okay, so it's so fascinating being here with you, Brandon, because, I come from a voiceover background, so I'm so used to having scripts of being told what to say, and I communicate how to say it. So that's my pivot now, working with entrepreneurs, teaching them how to say the words. But me personally, as a business owner, I didn't know what to say. And it was when I could create that combination of knowing how to communicate to my audience and then being able to deliver that message and create that emotional connection. That's where I found things shifted dramatically. And it took me creating a thought reversal video just on that got thousands and thousands of views in a very short period of time and solidified what I was thinking about for so many months but not taking action, is following my greater purpose. Going from before, what I was doing was teaching what I know, which is when I started your program, to then thinking, gosh, maybe this isn't what I should be teaching. Maybe there's something more. And it was again, sitting in the silence, where I started to discover my greater purpose. And now, once you understand that and you know how to speak to your audience and deliver the message in a certain way, it's completely shifted my business. So I'm really excited for 2022, and doing more of this work is going to be really exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it all, where you go from here. And I think what's really great too about what you do is I teach people what to say and how to communicate it, but there's also so much power in how you're verbalizing it as well. And so what you do for people is also equally as important as uncovering this. And so everyone listening, pay attention to everything that Catherine's talking about as well. And if they wanted to learn more, where can they go?
You can come visit me over at my website. It's catherinebeck.com. I also have a podcast. It's called The Voice for Business Podcast. And I'm over on the Instagrams at Catherine_Beck_.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. And last but not least, Amy.
All right. Well, my biggest breakthrough that I haven't even got to talking about yet, I think, is becoming crystal clear on exactly who my struggling avatar is. And I had a pretty big mismatch when I first joined the program. So out of everything, everything emanates backwards for me from that one thing. Then I was able to really land what the best thing would be for her. And so that, along with creating, my wonderful, unique methodology, and the community, meeting you and meeting I love everybody that's been on this call, and I just think that you attract the most magical people. And people can find me at higherselfbeauty.com or on Instagram at the.skintessa.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm so grateful for every single one of you, not only for being here, but for putting your trust in myself and our program and helping you with your messaging. And for everyone listening, just know that if you have any doubt on your message, it feels inauthentic, you know what you do, but you don't know how to communicate it, you're not sure how to drive sales, even selling feels icky to you and you're not sure how to create demand. Because here's the thing, pitching your product is not selling or creating demand, it's a pitch. That process of getting people to want your stuff or to know they need your stuff happens way before you pitch anything. And if you're not sure how to do that, enrollment is closing soon. This may be the last opportunity you have for a while to get into the program. So if you have any doubt or questions, please reach out to us. We have calls going on, or you can ask me in the Facebook group. I'll be around. So again, thank you to every single one of you guys, and for all you listeners. Hopefully we'll see you inside the program. Take care, everyone. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, go below, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click on that bell icon and get notified every time we drop a new episode. Now, if you're looking for the show notes, we have them linked underneath this video, as well as our social media handles and some links to free training and offers that we drop from time to time to help you guys even further. So go check those out if you're interested, and thank you so much for tuning in to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.